Hey guys, today I thought I would make a video, probably quite a rambly one, since I don't really have a script for this or anything. But yeah, I thought I'd talk a little bit about Gwent, the state of the game, some thoughts on the new info that we got about stuff potentially coming in the future, things like, you know, having a coin flip solution potentially, and also, yeah, things to do with create and solutions for that problem. As well as, just a few other bits and bobs, things I would love to see from the game. Um, because I think there's a lot you can do with Gwent. Mistakes have been made in the past, maybe, but there's still a lot of hope. So yeah, I thought I'd just go into that a little bit. So first things first, I mean my thoughts on the Berger's AMA and the sort of info from that are coin flip solution. Yeah, that sounds super good. And the way they're approaching it as well so if you aren't aware, they're gonna, or at least they're thinking about testing, having leaders with a value associated, uh, to sort of the coin flip. And depending on that value will mean whether you basically go first or second. So sort of an initiative stat or whatever you want to call it, right? Um, and that's a really cool idea. So it means you can balance each leader going first or second around how strong they are going first or second, right? In theory, that's super good. Super good idea. If you can make that work, incredible. Adds like so much. I want to say flavor, but that's probably not the right word. Like it allows you to do a lot in deck building, uh, and it's gonna encourage a lot of different decks to thrive. I think because like the power of winning the coin right now is pretty huge. Like if you could guarantee it, say with Eredin every time, then that might make Frost decks, Wild Hunt decks really quite strong. Equally, you might see people starting to run leaders they wouldn't just because those leaders are going to be winning coin flips. If the meta's dominated by a couple of decks, then you can always just play another one that can win the coin flip, and maybe you can make a cool idea around that to maybe like abuse going second. But um, no, it's a really interesting idea. I think if done properly, it could work. It will be tricky, but if done properly, it's probably, I mean, that's a lot better than just adding points to, whoever loses coin flip, I think, because that's kind of a messy solution. It doesn't sit well with new players as well. This sort of initiative idea could be really good, really nice idea. So I'm a fan of that. I'm a big fan of that, and hopefully they follow through and make it work. And also, just another thing is for tournaments, like they won't have to have the coin flip fix, which they have right now, which will definitely change up how tournaments work, which is cool. And yeah, again, deck building for tournaments will be incredibly sophisticated, I guess. It's the word for that. So yeah, really hopeful about that. Seems to be a really nice idea, nice change that they might be working on. And so next up is create, and Berger has said that they're probably going to uh, change some create cards so they only work in arena rather than in ranked play. And this is an interesting one. So I want to preface this like I want to talk about create a bit, and my thoughts on it as a mechanic. So a lot of people right now really don't like create. They think it is kind of ruined the game, uh, made it all RNG based, right, and very luck orientated. There's a lot of RNG cards and blah blah blah. Slave drivers, you can brick on those and that's really bad, or you can get really good stuff off slave driver and it'll be really good, right? There's too much variance. Or runestone, okay, if I get swears off runestone, I win the game against consume. That is a thing you maybe shouldn't be able to do. So, people have those worries about create, and I kind of share some of them, but I feel like in general the mechanic is. I want to say it's okay. I don't think it's that it's as bad as people say it is. Now that doesn't mean it shouldn't be moved to Arena, but honestly, there are quite a few create cards which actually are quite good for the game, I think, and which either are nice for deck building or just for, making skilled plays in game, right? I'm thinking of things like Heim. I'm thinking of things like, I guess, Triss Telekinesis is a good example as well. And then you're opening up deck building space when you have these rune stones as well, which are viable because they have, their range is it's pretty good. They can get good stuff, so you can then play stuff like Vesemir, right? Um, Now, obviously, that's not really a reason to not move them, right, or not get rid of them from the game. This mechanic, just because it creates archetypes. But things like Heim and Triss are nice. Triss might be too strong. That is a possible thing, but that's not to do with the create mechanic. I think so. The issue that there is here is things like Triss and Heim. They have a very 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 narrow range of what they can pull randomly, right? Um, Generally speaking, Heim is like most decks are running 4 silver units max. I mean, there's some exceptions to that, but if you're running Spy, then Spy and a silver spell, that's like Heim is just so narrow in what it can pull. And if you're good and you know what your opponent's deck is going to be potentially running, you can maybe do some cheeky things with Heim, like create Weatherclear or create an Asire and mess your opponent's deck up, create Joachim to get another finishes, things like that. So I think that adds a little bit of complexity that wouldn't otherwise be there, but that's more to do with like the card design rather than create. So I think cards like Triss and Heim need a different keyword, or they need like I think they need to just get rid of create altogether, really, and perhaps just rework the cards that have create associated with them. So I guess the easiest way to do that, I mean, the problem with just removing things from Arena, right, is it's kind of a lazy fix. You're then I mean, how many cards would you want to get rid of? You want to get rid of Scout, Slave Driver, probably, Runestones, and then you're left with an awkward sort of okay, we've got some cards which are not in Arena because they are, and that's kind of weird and a bit, unintuitive. And it feels like a lazy fix. Like you're kind of, I don't even like those cards aren't even great in Arena, right? They don't make the game better there. I would say you kind of encounter the same issue. Just because the game is a bit crazier in Arena doesn't mean it still sucks to high roll slave drivers. I don't know. Like, I would say just reworking things like slave driver, say make it, I don't know. I'm so bad at coming up with card ideas, but you could have it just simply, I don't know, deal some damage to your own guy and play a copy of a opponent's unit on the board or something like that, right? Like, you could have it be a lot more, no, I mean, you can keep the flavor, I guess. You can do all sorts of things with that. But if you remove the create ability, then you don't have to just take it out of Arena. And that's a little bit more intuitive. It feels like you're not wasting a card then, right? You have a bigger card pool without having to create new cards, which is just super nice. Um, and then you can also, if you then differentiate between the nice crate cards and the weird, the better one, the bad ones, I guess we're going to call them, um, then you can keep things like Heim and Triss. You can maybe say their keyword becomes spawn instead of create, right? And then because it's a similar thing to Avalak, the sages, I believe he's called, yeah, who's spawning a random unit or whatever. So it could be like choose between I guess it's tricky because they do have the choose option, right? Um, so yeah, that is interesting. Maybe you keep the create keyword, but have it only on a very select few units, and then rework the ones that are bad, and just be very careful with the keyword in future. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but that's a tricky one. I would say, you know, removing stuff for one game mode is I don't really like it. I mean, they've done it for spies and it's pretty nice, but just removing cards with keyword, honestly, it might not be that bad. It might not be that bad. But I feel like there could be more done with the sort of design space there. But you know, I think it's a positive idea anyway, doing something about create because people have issues with it. And at the moment, like the two main issues with Gwent are, I would say, coin flip and yeah, I guess most people would say it's create as well, right? So they're definitely trying to tackle those two things. And I think if they manage that, a lot of people will find the game a lot more enjoyable, which is great. Um, so yeah, I'm all for that. Sounds super good. And I will probably play a lot more Gwent if coin flip gets fixed. Like at the moment, the biggest issue for me is I go into games of Gwent and I know I'm such a severe disadvantage. It really is like a big disadvantage. I mean, it's even if it's only a few percentage points, like it's a lot more than other games, and you can feel it all the time. Um, and whether or not you win or lose because of it's more like the play pattern that you have to adopt when you go first, right? You are your opponent's basically in the driver's seat, and you have to respond to their plays the whole time. You're always reacting. You can't really set up your own strategy or do what you want to do. It's just kind of okay. I've got to follow my opponent's lead. He's gonna take me on a ride here. Okay, I'm going two cards down. Great. Yeah. Okay. Nice. I lost the game. It doesn't feel good. And then you go play like another game, like I don't know, chess or Prismata, and there's no RNG really in whether you win coin or not. I mean, in chess, okay, whatever, high rank, yeah, okay, sure. I mean, it's a little bit, but not as much as in Gwent, and that's the thing really. It's like you play pretty much any other game, coin flip doesn't feel bad, and then you play Gwent and it feels bad. Maybe okay, maybe not at the lower Gwent levels, but still. I would say at the higher levels, it's kind of a problem. But yeah, they're going to try fix that, which is really nice, really really good. I mean, it's been an issue for a while, and it's been a really difficult to solve issue. That's probably the main thing, really. But yeah, that's a nice thing. So the next thing I want to talk about is just so that's all the positive stuff that they're doing to sort out the issues with Gwent. That's really good. I want to talk about some things that should probably um, oh yeah, the other thing they said was they're going to bring like faction identity back, which thumbs up, thumbs up. You really want a good core set for the game. You know, you want uh, archetypes and cards that work that can then be supported when you release new cards. So really nice that they are going to try to. I think they said they're going to try to make 3 functional archetypes for every faction, which is super. They can do that. Beautiful, beautiful. That's a good way to go about, designing a core set is just making as many cards viable as possible, and then you see what is actually strong when the dust settles, right? So that's nice. Yeah, that's also good. So in terms of other things I would love from Gwent, I think like there's one thing that hasn't been in the game for a long time, and that's spectator mode. I don't know why. Like spectator mode should be in the game. It should have been in the game like a year ago. It's a pretty big feature. Helps for tournaments, helps hugely just for practicing and just, it's a nice thing to have in the game. Helps, if you have friends that play and that sort of thing. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but it should have happened a while ago. So that's my first thing. I would love I would love spectator mode, like please, at some point. And kind of related to that is, I mean, I really doubt it will happen, but sort of a tournament mode would be cool. Similarly to how I believe Hearthstone is going to be introducing that. I think if we would ever get this, it would be quite far in the future, but it would be a nice thing to have, sort of a way to do tournaments in game. Uh, they don't even have to be, CDPR run. You could just set it up so, I don't know, you click a few buttons and then there you go, it sets up a tournament. You invite the players and then the tournament plays out, right? And you could maybe spectate when you finish your game or something like that. Could be cool. But I don't know, maybe there are issues with the current like UI and sort of the engine, the game engine, which are making that difficult to do, especially with the spectator mode, but I don't know. I have no idea. So yeah, spectator mode and a way to do tournaments easily would be beautiful. I think that could really help the game, but I mean obviously those are probably coming second to fixing, issues with the game at the moment. But yeah, apart from that, I think so. Right now, the game feels very, very balanced. The most balanced it's been in quite a while. I would say most balanced since pre-winter, and even maybe more balanced than that. Hard to say, really. It feels like a lot of decks are viable. A lot of like all the factions have at least one good deck. Many have two or three, which is pretty. That's where you want it to be. That is good balance. I guess the final thing to say is I would love more cards which are just interesting, you know? Um, and there's not necessarily a lack of this at the moment, although you can make that argument. I mean, I don't, I don't know. I think that it would be nice to have more like mini games in the game, right? Just to sort of go on a bit of a tangent, I've been playing a lot of Prismata, and in that, I mean, it's not analogous really to Gwent, but they have a lot of the time you're playing a set of cards, right? And there's a card in the set of cards which, if you get, forces your opponent to play in a completely different way because they have to either like rush down this card, or they have to defend against it, or they have to, you know, get it themselves, and then it becomes really whoever maximizes the resources or whatever. So what I'm trying to say is like things that cards that make you play differently are so great for Gwent, and we don't really have that many of them at the moment. At the moment, it just feels like you're kind of just playing your cards until you find the right pass spot. Um, like the only real complexity in the game at the moment is potentially passing, and a lot of the time that is going to be dictated by the player going second anyway. So yeah, it's kind of not cool there. So just more mini games. If you make mini games with higher like payoff for like winning the mini game, right? Then it just makes the game more interesting because you know you're punished if you don't change your play and adapt accordingly, and you're also potentially punished if you don't build your deck in a certain way, which you know that can be good or bad thing depending on how severe it is. But yeah, I think that could be cool for like future card design. That should probably be a thing that happens. But I guess it's okay for the core set of cards to not have too many of those complex, really interesting mechanics. Although it's an argument you can have, right? But yeah, I think so. Yeah, just to recap, some really good stuff coming potentially. Coin flip fix would be nice. And if it doesn't work that well, I mean, you want to try it at least. That's fine by me. Put it on PTR or whatever. Good, good. Next would be the create solution. I mean, once they fix create, I don't know, like, what are people going to complain about, right? If coin flip and create are gone, how are people on Reddit going to get mad, you know? Like, oh, I hate playing against Hensel. Maybe. But then Hensel would be on blue coin and he is probably going to suck. So that's I'm looking forward to that. If those two things happen, and then yeah, just making the core set better. That's a great idea, really good. That should have probably been the aim from the start, but you know, whatever. That's totally good that they're trying to fix stuff. So really good stuff in the AMA, and then I just would love some other things, but those will have to come in the future, I guess. So spectator mode. We'll never really get tournament mode, I don't think, but would be nice. Yeah, and hopefully that'll make the game a lot better. And yeah, also just more interesting cards. Interesting cards are great. Crazy, wacky cards are good because they make the game more fun. And even if they're broken, game's more fun, so who cares? I would play a fun broken game all day. And in fact I do. I play some broken games. But yeah. I guess I'll do it for me today. Yeah, a bit of a ramble. If you actually endured this whole video, congratulations. You are a very cool individual. Um, but yeah, have a lovely one. Have a lovely day. I will see you next time. Goodbye.